road with TheEZGZ. Yeah, I do like the looks of a Baja. This is our friend Scott, and he just got this Baja put together, and we're kind of taking it out for a little bit longer test drive. He says a little short notice, but I was going to head up to Estes Park. He says, if you're not doing anything, let's go for a ride. I says, yeah, well, I haven't had mine out in a while. The sun's shining. Let's go. Supposed to get some more snow this weekend, and it's been so cold for so long. I've been holding off on my 1776 single port build due to funds. I'm trying to do this thing on the cheap, but I still want to do it right. And I had a change of heart on my crankshaft. Had to get some different bearings, and ordered, boy, one of the toughest things I've ever done is to order a stock camshaft. Oh my God. I did ponder over that, but you know, with the scope of this project, I can always change things later on, and there is absolutely nothing the matter with a stock camshaft. When we get back to the house, I may elaborate on these different camshafts and the wear factors and what you got to look for. Alright, so we're back home. We'll finish up that ride later, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to cover for you guys right now, and we're going to be all over the map. There's been some delays on that 1776 single port. I decided at the last minute I didn't like the looks of that crankshaft that I was going to use, and it turned out it wasn't a standard crank, it was a 1010 crank. And then I got to looking at my old 1776. This is a 2020 crank. I think I talked about it a little bit on that last video, and I'm sure we've mentioned it in the past. This is a 2020 crank, which means that the main bearings and the rod bearings have been ground 20 thousandths under. And if you stop and think about it, 20 thousandths is not the end of the world. They make 82 stroker cranks that are 2-inch for Chevy journals. And let's just look here at what. So if it's 20 thousandths, that means you'd be taking 10 thousandths off of the edge. So look at the gap there. It's not. Can you see the light there? Looking through that. That's not a whole lot they have to take off to grind to get that thing up. Now overall, it'd be 20, and there's 20, and you can see you can't even get your fingernail in that spot there. It's just hardly anything. But this has got like, oh, what do I want to say, over 25 years on this crankshaft, and the reason that this is out of the engine. Now this is a welded counterweighted crank, and hopefully I won't drop it out of here, but you can see it's pretty nice. This was from CB Performance. I had hoped for a 1010 crank. I remember I was disappointed when I got it that it was a 2020, and that means that there's a little bit more bearing material between that and the case. But this is after 25 years, and these are the Volkswagen. These were reconditioned rods, and I did have it professionally balanced. You can see some of the grinding on the ends of these connecting rods. They've been balanced end to end and overall. Case, I'm cleaning up the case. I still haven't done any grinding in there. I took it to the car wash, and like I said, we're going to be all over the map. This was the old 1300 case. It is a single relief case, just like the one we're going to use for this project. This is a 1966 case. We took it out of the car. It had been rebuilt, and it was a 6-volt engine with a 6-volt flywheel, and you can see where this has also been cut for thrust. But you see the lines here. I cannot boy, there's just nothing to hook my finger on. And this is a 20 over, and you know, that isn't too bad. I robbed these 12 millimeter head bolt studs because our project engine case here was something that just was a bare case. Didn't have the head bolts, and this is how, when you purchase a case, usually they come this way, and you have to furnish everything. That's easier when you have a older engine and you can take things from that engine, the distributor drive gear, the two shims that go underneath that, some shims for the crankshaft. There's just little nuts and bolts and things, odd things that you can still reuse. And in this project, this is what it's all about, is reusing and building this on a budget. Today's engine cases are anywhere from $800 to $1,200, depends on what you're getting with them, but they are brand new cases. And you know, there's always people that get hung up on say, oh, you know, nothing like the old German stuff, the original equipment. Well, the original equipment is getting to be old, 50, 60 years old, and it's just old and fatigued. Now this one was just in storage for most of those 60 years, and I don't have the history on it, and there was no numbers on it. Single relief case too. Now, being it's a single relief case, you can see it doesn't have anything on the flywheel side. It's just the one side. So this is one of the holes where it dumps out into the case if you get too high a pressure. But you've also got this one up here. When you first start the car, the oil's thick, and they don't want to put undue strain and stress on the oil cooler. They want to make sure that oil is going quickly to the engine bearings, and that's what it does. It bypasses the cooler. Now, when this engine gets warm and the oil thins down, then the piston goes up and it diverts it, makes it go through the oil cooler before it comes out to the main bearings and gets distributed through the rest of the engine. Here is a stock camshaft. It has no letters on the bottom, and it is a stock camshaft. So the difference between this camshaft and this brand new camshaft, and I almost thought about using this, but I don't have the right lifters in the right spot, so I just decided I was just going to go ahead and buy a new one, and I was waiting on this sort of stuff. Actually, I made a trip down to Denver. I went to a little VW shop in Denver called Painter's Grinding. I don't have a link to them. I don't think they have a website, but they're a shop that has been around as long as I've been interested in Volkswagens, and I bought stuff from them, and I've made special trips down there, and I probably paid more for some of the parts I bought. Now, this is a point that I want to make. If you have local VW specific machine shops and part suppliers in your town close to you, sometimes you can save a nickel and a dime buying things online, even when you have to pay the freight and so forth. And I know you're avoiding sales tax and all that, but just like me, I got in a pinch for this. I decided I didn't want to wait. I brought my whole engine case down there and my crankshaft, and I let these guys take a look at it and decided that we were going to enlarge the case to fit the 90.5 cylinders. And that's what I decided to do. Rather than build a 1600, we're going to make it into a 1776. So I had these guys cut these spigot holes out larger. Then I had to go back down and pick it up. But here's my point. Treat these guys right. Treat all these Volkswagen machine shops and people that help us in our Volkswagen hobby. because these guys have got to make money or they're not going to be there. There's been a lot of shops over the years that I've seen open up and then go out of business because they just didn't have enough money to support themselves and their family. And a machine shop in particular, that shop equipment, not to mention the talent to know how to use them, takes a long time to acquire those skills, and those guys deserve to make a buck. I'm glad that we have places like that we can go to, and I'm willing to support them by buying some things from them in hopes that they'll be there the next time I need something as well. Give these guys a break. So I asked them down there, I says, what have you guys got in a stock cam, and what is it going to cost me? So I got this cam with the gear. This is a Brazilian cam. They said they use these. They're great cams. They have excellent luck with them, and I think it's beautiful. I've already measured it out, and they are exactly the same. And there's some things that we're going to go over here. Now, the outside cams, there's 8 valves, but there's only 4 cam lobes. And what makes a stock Volkswagen camshaft, you know, special is that the duration, it's a split duration. When most of your performance camshafts, the intake and the exhaust cam lobes have the same duration. You'll see like an Engel 100 with 274 advertised duration and an actual of a lot less than that at 50 thousandths. What they do is put set the valve lash at 50 thousandths instead of 4 thousandths, and then they have their cam degree wheel that goes on the crank, and they start rotating it around because it's such a gradual lift that when they set it at 50, when it kicks in, you know it. So this is a real nice machine job. It appears to be accurate. That parkerizing that they use on this thing looks real nice, and I'm real pleased with it. There's a little bit of oil, and I don't want to touch the bearing surfaces with my fingers. Now, I noticed that there's a lot of sharp edges on this cam gear, and I am going to go over that with a wire brush. You want to get, especially all this aluminum and stuff, any foreign matter that might come off or come loose in your engine, you want to get that stuff out of there. You don't want that going through your oil pump. Even if you have a full flow oil system, it's still going to trash your oil pump, and you want to get this cleaned up and out of your car. That's why you don't want to over rev a fresh engine, because there's going to be a lot of these little, I can see them from here. I don't know if it shows up in the light, but you can just see it. I'm going to take a little, like a Dremel and a sanding disc, and I'm going to bevel every single one of these edges on these teeth of this gear on both sides. A little word, if you've got a project engine that you've got sitting around and you're just waiting for the right time to use it for your little engine, I want to show you something that I discovered on my engine. Look at this. This was the 1300. This sat indoors in a garage floor, and look what happened. This is on the bottom side. I don't know that it'd be worth saving. The inside of it doesn't look too bad, but this is corrosion from water that got in and sank to the bottom and was just eating away down there. You hear about cams going away and cams getting eaten up. There's so much that you can learn just by looking at a camshaft. Now look at those wear marks, okay? You can see where it's all shiny here. It's got a nice shiny finish on one side, and then you come over, and then here on the bottom side, there's no wear marks at all. And this one here is the same way. Why do you suppose that is? Can anybody answer that? Why is this particular camshaft, it doesn't seem to have any wear on the back side? That's because of your valve clearance. You're not supposed to have any contact here. This is almost like brand new, because that's why we have solid lifters in our engines, and we set the valve gap anywhere from 4 to 6 thousandths depending on on what year it is and what the cam manufacturer says, but it's relaxed. There's nothing there. That's why you can rattle the rocker arm because there's no pressure here. Now, if you had an engine that had a hydraulic lifter in it, there would be pressure on that all the time as it came around, and this back side, the rounded side, would be all shiny as well. So I thought that was worth kind of looking at and going over. Now, the difference here, let's grab a performance camshaft. Let's see. This one's a C25. That's a pretty popular one. Scat and Engel. There's so many different ones. Here's an Engel. Here's one of each. Here's an Engel and a Scat. So let's just take them over here. Got some good light over here, and we'll kind of look at them. And you look at the same type of a thing. There's no wear on the back, and it's kind of gotten shiny and polished here on the end. Now, lifters. If you look at a lifter, I had them out here a while back. Oh, here they are. Put them on the table. I was planning on talking about this. Now, you'll hear people talk about the lifters are not flat. Okay. So you take two lifters and you put them together, and they should just rock ever so lightly. Right here, there's no movement. The bottoms of these lifters have been riding on that camshaft, and that they've worn down. Now, you look at a difference between 300 thousandths and say 400 thousandths. That's 100 thousandths difference between okay, got this set at 0, and we're going to come around 1 full revolution. There's 100 thousandths. That's the difference in how much higher your valve lifts off the seat with a performance cam in comparison to the stock cam. On average, it might be a little bit less, maybe it's 70. You know, you can see the 0. Here's, 40 thousandths more lift. But as you get more lift, what happens is that valve has to raise up off the seat. A revolution is still a revolution. So comparing it to the stock cam, there's a stock cam here, and you look at how rounded it is here. Now you look at this one, even though it's worn out, it's a little bit more pointy. That's because it's got a certain amount of time to lift that up farther and come back down. And it takes longer to do it. The duration, the length of time the valve's open, and the height that it's open, it lets more fuel in. It gives the exhaust a little bit more time to go out. And you're compressing it. Usually when you install a performance cap, you increase the compression, so you're getting more fuel in for a bigger bang, and you're getting it out, and you still have just that. It's a 4-stroke engine. Intake, compression, power, exhaust. So you only have a certain amount of time in a cycle to get the job done. And these stock cams, they're a little bit more mild, they're less aggressive, and yeah, they work in they use the same cam profile in a late 1200, 1300, 1500, 1600 engine, and I'm taking it a little bit farther. I'm putting it in a 1776, and if you look at Volkswagen numbers, you can almost round it off and say an 1800. Okay, so it should be a nice pulling engine, and instead of using a dual port head, we're going to use a single port head. If you're trying to get more fuel and gas through a smaller opening, what happens? It's got to go faster, and it's that speed as it's going in there that creates a little bit of a ramming effect, and it hurts you on the top end at high RPM, but it helps you at low RPM. So we're going to test all this, and we're going to use my seat of the pants meter. I don't have a dynometer to a dynometer to hook my cars up, and I'm not so sure I'd want to if I had one. But yeah, we're just going to keep working on our project here. And I'm sorry that it's taken me so long to get this done. I'm waiting on some parts. I'm trying to make up my mind. And I'm sure you want to get back on the ride and see how Scott's new Baja did the rest of the day. It worked just fine. It ran cool. The cleanup part is always the hardest part. Boy, I'll tell you, when it's cold out in the garage, I just don't like to be trapped over a solvent tank with a cleaning brush any more than anybody else does. I can think of a lot of things, a lot of reasons not to be out here doing it. Maybe I'll just sit inside and have another cup of coffee and watch one of your videos, right? So anyhow, let's get back on the road with Scott and see how things are going. And now that, yeah, yeah, let's just do it. aluminum block 2-liter with a mild cam, dual carbs, stock 412 transmission with about 28-inch tall tires. And since I'm holding the camera, I'm just leaving it third gear and spinning it. I I could probably go into fourth now and then, but man, Scott's car is just running awesome. It's close to a 1600, but it's got a 486 ring and pinion in the tranny, so I can't remember if he told me I had a stock fourth, but I am very impressed with the way this thing is just rolling right up this canyon hills here. We are at probably 5,300 feet in climbing. Car's running great. Not a hint of smoke coming off of anything. No body roll. Suspension looks good. You can sure see that orange. No hiding from anybody with that color. Really looks good. Scott does a lot of painting, and I may have to. There I go into fourth gear. I'm at 50 miles an hour. Wind's blowing pretty hard. I got this big thing following me. And he's leaning in all these corners. He's probably saying, what in the heck? Aren't those old 60s Volkswagens? They're going pretty good. Oh, this is what I needed to just get out, put down some miles. This all got flooded out a few years ago, and they've redone the road. It's just nice and smooth. We're just having a good old time. Yep, we've got a little dual port with, what kind of carb is that?
It's just a Chinese 34 copy.
Copycat Chinese there. And this thing is,
on Amazon.
he's in fourth gear all the way up the canyon. I'm chasing him in third. And he's giving me the sign right there. How tall are those tires?
I think they're like 28, 29.
Yep, yep. Yeah. Yeah. He's got a full gauge cluster here. I don't think it's, this is, like I said, a maiden voyage here. And we're just kind of putting some miles down, checking things out. What was that temperature that it was reading?
Shoot, I don't remember.
On the block, I think it was
168.
Yeah, 168. Mine was running like 152. This is an aluminum block. And I got dual carbs. It's a dual port, but this is a 2-liter. And he's just running away from me. He's got the 486 gears in his. And I got a 412 with stock tranny and stock gears. And our tires are, I don't know, his might be a little bit, but gear ratio is everything.